I like it.
All right. So good afternoon, good morning, and good day to everybody. It's Bill Sattree. I'm talking with Jeff Watkins. We had him on a couple weeks ago, and he really did well with people watching and staying online and watching what he had to say. He's a realtor down in St. George, Utah, or it takes in the southern Utah area. And I want to talk to Jeff. Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing very well. It's beautiful weather down here in St. George. It's only, I think the high today is 100, so it's pretty chilly. Just a beautiful, beautiful day.
This is when it gets nice, between the end of August, September, October, part of November. It's the place to be. Trust me. It's going to turn here on a dime. So I'm in Salt Lake.
Yep.
And we're just about done here with our summer. So let's talk about something very controversial. Thought we'd talk today about the water challenge St. George has right now, and a little bit about the Lake Powell pipeline that's going in. You've got a city that's growing, one of the fastest growing cities in America. You're in one of the driest areas in the United States, and your water consumption is one of the tallest per capita in the United States, because you're growing grass. You got these beautiful golf courses. What do you think about this pipeline, and what do you think about St. George running out of water? What's your thoughts?
We're just gonna dive right into it, aren't we, Bill?
Yeah,
Here we go. Let's rock. Let's
I
rock
don't
and
know
roll.
any other way, right?
Well, I think that the Lake Powell pipeline is there's a couple of different views on it. So I don't know if at this point, I don't know if it really matters what my opinion is. It matters what where St. George is going to go, and what the legislature has deemed, the Utah State Legislature has said and agreed that they want St. George to be an economic hub. That's one of the reasons why Tech Ridge is going in. That's one reason why I think a lot of big companies are moving to St. George. That's one reason why St. George is the fastest growing metropolitan. I mean, metropolitan, it's still a small town, but the metro area is, I read, a couple of days ago that, and I think St. George News has the article posted, that St. George is the fastest growing city in America, metropolitan area. And Utah is the third fastest growing state. And I think that's something to be proud of, because people want to come here. And, not only do people want to come to Utah, but they want to come to St. George as well. And so it depends. The Lake Powell pipeline is all dependent on what's going to happen with St. George, because it's either going to happen or it's not going to happen. And St. George, if it doesn't happen, St. George is not going to continue to grow. It can't, because where there's water, there's life, and there's not a lot of, the water's got to come from somewhere. Or the Lake Powell pipeline is built and southern Utah continues to grow. So, my opinion in the real estate industry, I want to help. I want to be a part of people's financial decisions and buying homes and selling homes and things like that. So, I think it would be a great thing. And I think a lot of people, most people that I chat with that are either business oriented, own a business in St. George, they're excited about the growth and they're excited about the building. And a lot of people that I talked to that may be retired or came here as a second home really aren't super excited about it. So that's kind of the overview of, not necessarily my opinion, but that's kind of the overview of what the Lake Powell pipeline means. It means more growth. And if it doesn't happen, then we're not going to grow, and we're going to have to stop.
To dry up, as they say.
Right.
So You're getting your water. I just researched this. You're getting your water from the Virgin River. Did you know that? And it kind of fills into the sand hollow. A tribute, what do you call it? They have kind of a little man-made lake there, and they store that water right now. And if you know the Virgin River, it's not I mean, it has its moments, right, when there's a downpour, but most of the time this thing's just flowing and there's not much to it. In fact, it dries up somewhere before it hits Mesquite, if I remember right. Not much to it. So
it does go past Mesquite, and I know that because it goes through a few golf courses there in Mesquite. But it does feed some. It dries out. It actually from what I know, and I'm not a geologist, but it feeds the water table there.
right. So there's 160,000 people in, I think, St. George right now, 160,000 residents. And you've got this pipeline that's going to be about $2 billion. Isn't that going to add to the water rates and the impact fee and property taxes? I mean, with that kind of people, if they had to take that whole burden, which they wouldn't, that would be like between $30,000 and $60,000 per person, which is ridiculous. But there's government money and all kinds of funding for these type of things. But do you think that citizens are prepared once they approve it to have the tax hikes that may come with it?
So you're correct. In fact, there was just a increase on water here. In fact, I'll back up a little bit. Washington County is actually one of the cheapest places in the country to get water. It's pretty interesting.
Wow, I think I heard that before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And in fact, that's probably a reason why you've got golf courses, private golf courses down here that just water willy-nilly. So yes, that will in May. I shouldn't say will. It may add to the tax burden. It may add to the cost of water, but the cost of water is going to go up anyway. It just went up, not very significantly. It went up for the highest users, which I agree with. But there's a lot of federal money and a lot of state money. The state's got quite a bit of surplus as far as budget goes, and they always have. Utah's a very, very fiscally conservative state, but there's a lot of federal money and state money that would go into it as well. And you can make the argument that it's going to create a lot of jobs and kind of turn itself over. But you are correct. The overall tax burden for property tax and water probably will be fairly negligible, though, over the course of the years.
I'm watching where the pipeline is going to go. It has to go through an Indian reserve, and actually it goes down through Arizona and back up in towards Sand Hollow. It's pretty interesting. It's like 140 miles pipeline, which is a lot of pipe. But
right.
If you don't do it, and I think you have golf courses that are consuming a tremendous amount of water a day anyway. And as well as I do, you don't shut down golf courses. They do it. It's been done.
Right.
You can go up towards the Arizona border there, Colorado City, and there's some ex-golf courses. I mean, there's golf courses that used to be but are no longer. Can happen. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, you've designed St. George around golf courses and homes. And now what are you going to do with the space if you dry it up? So it's probably not feasible to think you can turn that into cropland or anything like that. It just has to move forward. I don't think at this point, when I see the building that's going on in St. George, the construction, the investment, the energy that's going on there, I think you're right. I don't think you can turn back.
Yeah. So the Washington County Board of Realtors, just to speak to that point, Bill, the Washington County Board of Realtors put on a luncheon last week, and they had a whole bunch of really cool people speaking, and it was centered around economic development. My key takeaway from that meeting was this: for development that has not started. So, or in other words, you're driving down Southern Parkway and you look out and you see desert, you would look at it and you would say, oh, that's beautiful, there's no homes there. But in actuality, in 5 years, it's probably going to be full of homes. So speaking of situations like that, areas that are already approved for building and have not started puts taking that into account puts St. George well over 200,000 people, even before 2030. So we're talking thousands and thousands of homes that are already approved to be built. And, here we are still talking about the Lake Powell pipeline. So bottom line is, Bill, is I agree with you, whether I'm right or I'm wrong. I agree with you. There's really not a whole lot of turning back. The water's got to come from somewhere. And so unless there's a dramatic shift in economics or, the demographics of the state legislature, it's probably going to happen. And, one of the talking points to that would be, well, there's already no water in Lake Powell. And again, I'm not a specialist in climate science or anything like that, but you can go right onto the Washington County Water District website and read some of the statistics, but go through some of the numbers and things like that. But it doesn't take a whole lot. It takes one really good year of snow and rain to fill Lake Powell up, and it doesn't have to come from Utah. I mean, a lot of those tributaries are coming from the Rockies up in Colorado and Montana and stuff like that. So one of those states has a really good snowpack, and in a year or two, the Lake Powell could be 30 or 40 feet higher. So
that's what I think. We're in a cycle, and sooner or later, they say the oak trees are popping out acorns, and that's a sign that's going to be a wet winter. So in California, they're anticipating that from just watching the trees. This will blow you away. This will absolutely blow you away. The amount of water used in Utah for consumption inside a house only represents 3 to 4% of the total water usage in Utah, believe it or not.
Right. Yep.
It's 85% is farming and ranching. And another statistic that'll blow you away is Utah paves over about 10 acres a day of ranch land. It gets turned into, up here, it's turned into residential areas. We see in Orem, a lot used to be peach orchards, and now there are very few peach orchards because they're getting developed, right?
Yep.
My dogs start fighting about this time, so I have to throw them a treat. They pretend not to fight anymore, and then it buys me about 5 minutes. We'll see how that goes.
Gotcha.
You've got another group saying we're going to have an abundance of water because the farmland is slowly but surely going away. So even if you count the outdoor water needs, it's about 6 to 7% of Utah's total water use. So if you're bringing in water from the Colorado River and you're making a commitment to do that, we have to understand that water is being used not just for residents, but there's another 90% of water usage that could be around St. George. It has nothing to do with houses. That may be businesses, commercial, maybe some agriculture there as well. So we need the agriculture to stay. Obviously, I would want that in the farm and ranch lands, but it's changing, and our water use is changing. And I think when we build houses, and you get to see new houses built, we're setting those houses up for a minimum amount of water use. The taps and everything in those houses are designed to save water, not. If you've ever tried to use an outdoor tap on a new house, you'll know what I'm talking about. It isn't coming out a 1-inch line, it's trickling out. So really the design of less lawn, we're really trying to do a good job, I think, on conserving water. Would that be the case when you see these new houses being built?
Yeah, for sure. So there's certain limitations and building, building restrictions that, for example, like in desert color, you can only have 25% of the property can be grass. And if it's more than that, then, the inspector will ding them. So things like that. And you're right that, instead of a 1-inch line, it's, for crying out loud, it's probably like a 1/4-inch line now on some of these taps. There's no, not a lot of stuff coming out of them anymore. But yes, there's in fact the two websites that I really like are water.utah.gov and then the WCBR website. I think it's just wcwcd.org, Washington County Water Conservancy District. There's a lot of good information on there that can really really enlighten you about. And I'm not, those are two, fairly quasi. One's a government website, and the other one's a quasi-government website, but they can kind of give you a little bit of enlightenment. And really, I've got the website up, water.utah.gov right now, and you look at Quail Creek and Sand Hollow, and they're both green. I mean, they both are fairly full. So Washington County's actually done a really good job in their strategy and their long-term plan to store water. Because Quail Creek and Sand Hollow are both in really good shape right now, even in the midst of a pretty hefty drought. So
yeah, it's I'm surprised we're all doing as well as we are, because there's not a lot of water around. We've had the monsoons probably help out the groundwater, but people can also go to utahRivers.org. You're gonna hear that we're not using a lot of water, and it's mostly agriculture, and it's not a bad idea to be listening to both sides of the subject.
Right.
So I'm sitting in California, and I'm thinking of going to St. George, but this water thing is scaring me off. What's your advice?
Take the long view. The weather's hard to predict. Without getting into climate science, you never know what can happen. We may be in a drought now, but in 3 years we may not be in a drought. Some people make the argument that you shouldn't be building in a desert, but the bottom line is St. George is a desirable place. It's the growth just isn't going to stop. I wouldn't put it in my list of top priorities, but I would make it a consideration in looking at what kind of home I'm going to have and where it's going to be. But bottom line is between Quail Creek and Sand Hollow, Gunlock, Kolob, some of the smaller reservoirs, Washington County has done a great job with water storage. There's going to be a reservoir up in Ivins that's going to even contribute more to potable water. So if that's something that's scaring you, do a little bit of research and go to some of these three websites, and I think it'll ease your mind a little bit.
My viewers have that question all the time. What about water? What about electricity? Is it a safe place? I ask them this, and I'll ask you this. When's the last time you guys have had a forest fire where you've had to evacuate houses or people in houses?
Can't think of one. I know there's been a couple fires in the gorge this year from chains dragging and things like that, and man, they were done. They were out. It's the tankers from Cedar come in and boom, they're done. So
when's the last time you've had an earthquake that's disheveled the house from its foundation?
Yeah, can't think of one.
You're trading maybe some of this, but St. George, for the most part, it just seems to me to be one of those towns where you're catching the growth. You've got everything you'd want. There's a Costco. It runs the Costco, Walmart, Factor, airport. And I think if you're my age or older, you can enjoy the limited growth that's going on and get to see some excitement of new things happening. If you're younger, you can be a part of that. And with the digital era being profound and what St. George is doing to hook up to that part of growth and future, you're insured probably work there as much as you'd want. And the airport is very impressive. There's nobody there ever when I'm there. And when I fly out, I can fly out to Phoenix or Dallas or back to Salt Lake if I want. And it's so refreshing to be at an airport where you're not in line with a million people. And I just come back from Hawaii, and Honolulu's airport hasn't changed in 40 years. And It's rated one of the worst airports in America. It's just not consumer friendly. You don't miss all that. You don't miss all the traffic and all that. So I think St. George, even though there's this pressure on getting more water, I think if it goes through, it's just par for the course of what they're growing in that part of the world and the amount of homes that are being built to supply the demand. And I think without it, to have a shortage doesn't make sense either. The Colorado River, if it's below a certain point, they're not going to use the water anyway. They're going to run it dry. So I think if we're all good, I think if we're all good people in terms of being good stewards about what we build, what we buy, use solar if possible. I mean, you got sun out there, over 300 days out of the year, I would imagine. Solar is a great town to be leveraging solar. There's just a lot of good things going on where I think the issues of water and different problems are really shadowed by the positive that comes out of a place like St. George.
Yeah, and a lot of people are talking about it, and that's it's kind of a perpetuation with articles in the media, and I watch I'll watch videos on the Hoover Dam, and it's kind of a perpetuation. But I agree with you. It's much too short-sighted, and not enough information to say that we are in dire straits. Because the fact of the matter is Washington County's got great water storage, and you just don't know what the weather's going to do. And a couple points to what you were talking about, Bill, I agree with everything about St. George. That's why I'm here, for all of those reasons. But a big key factor is that a lot of people look past is since the Glen Canyon Dam was built, Utah's only used 50% of our entitled water from the Colorado River.
Oh, wow.
And so a lot of the issues that we're having with Lake Powell are not because of Utah, they're because of the growth in Arizona, because Arizona has used well over 100% of their entitled water since the Glen Canyon Dam was built as well. So it's to that end, you could make the argument that the Lake Powell pipeline is that's our water. That's Utah's water that we haven't used for 50 years. And that I think is a point that a lot of people look past as well. And it's a reason why the Hoover Dam is or why Lake Mead is low as well. Not because Utah's being bad stewards of anything. In fact, even if Utah did its part and we reduced water, like you said earlier, from a residential standpoint, it's not going to make that big of a difference anyway.
Not a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal, but it's a very small percentage of where the water goes. How do people get a hold of you, Jeff? Why don't we give you a plug for how maybe they could text, mail, or email you?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. So the best way to get a hold of me, I got, my phone's in my pocket all the time. So I've got a couple of different numbers. You can text me at 435-922-0012 or 801-706-1688. Email is jeff@dreamutahlife.com. I'm with Realty One Group Goldmark here in St. George. I'll plug my brokerage a little bit too. So we Realty One Group has the most market share in Las Vegas, and that's kind of creeping up north a little bit too. And we've got some good things. Just some, we had a meeting today, and we met with some home inspector and home warranty and a couple of title guys, and they come in and they say, man, the culture here is just it's different, it's fun, it's cool. there's just a lot of resources with that. So yeah, call, text, email, call me at 2 a.m. and I'll probably wake up a little groggy, but man, I'll probably answer my phone. So
you're going to find, if you don't get I'm going to just tell people out there, and really, I don't make my money doing this, but it's passionate for me. So I will share. You're going to look at a sign, it's for sale, and you're going to drive by and you're going to call an agent, and that agent probably isn't going to return your call. And you're going to try to figure out why. And you're going to try to work from the outside in. And this isn't a thing you can do that with. In real estate in St. George, you got to work with somebody that's on the inside. And you're not paying commission anyway, because you're buying. The seller pays the commission. But if you don't know who just died, who's taken over the estate, who's now the executor of a estate that wants to sell grandma and grandpa's house, if you don't know what area is going to release another 12 lots, if you don't have somebody like that, you're going to get on the tail end of a house that you're going to be unhappy with. It's going to have 12-inch tiles. It's going to be brown. It's going to have a kitchen that's 40 years old with a drop-down ceiling with fluorescent lights, and your back door is going to slide open to a wall. Tell me I'm wrong.
I can't. I can't, and just to speak to that point too, Bill, I'm in the real estate business because I enjoy getting to know people and chatting with people, and I enjoy marketing, and I enjoy bringing those things together, and it's nice to again plug in the brokerage a little bit too. I mean, you've got somebody where if you're buying a home in St. George, man, you don't have to. We've got concierge services for everything. Like, you don't have to worry about anything. I take care of. I can take care of your moving. Most of the time, moving. If you're moving down from Salt Lake, you're probably not going to pay anything to move down here. Getting your utilities set up, and what schools you're going to go to, and a home inspector, a handyman. All that stuff is right at your fingertips before you even move into the house, and it just makes life so much easier. It is. And having an agent, holy cow, I've been on both sides of transactions with and without a real estate agent. When I've been an agent, when I haven't been an agent, and man, you get the right person under your wing, and man, it makes your life a lot easier. It really does. And I'm not saying, and it could be me. There's other agents in St. George that are really good too, and I appreciate that, and I enjoy working with them as well. And it's a fun business to be in, and the growth is fun to be a part of, and it really is. But no, you're not wrong, Bill. You're not wrong. You're 100% correct.
You can do it the hard way, or you can do it the easy way. And I have too ran into a lot of good agents down St. George that are committed to try to help you get your house done, get bought, not try to get into an emotional buy where you're competing against 7 or 8 other people, but get into a timeline and a home where you'd feel comfortable with the budget that you've set. So I'm pretty sure Jeff is committed to that. And if you're in the market, feel free to text him, text me at Bill, or email me at bill@sattree.com. I respond to all my emails and texts because I think it's fun and exciting. I think it's a great time to be in this market and business, and I enjoy it. I enjoy talking to people like yourself. So thank you. Good luck this month. I think September is going to pick up a little bit with people having to go back to school and whatnot. So good luck with this. Good luck with the water. And hopefully in 10 years, we'll look back at this and say everybody made the right decision.
I agree. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate your time, and we'll chat with you a little bit later.
Thank you very much.